Hello, and welcome back to Cosmic Sword Radio. This is part 4 of our crash course into Dungeon Crawl Classics, where we'll be talking about the Thief. But first, I want to say thank you to everyone who's liked my videos and subscribed, and I especially want to thank the people who commented that they wanted me to make more. This one's for you. So, let's rewind the clock and imagine that instead of a cleric with a solid personality score, we wanted to play a skill junkie, an infiltrator, and a character that excels at circumventing obstacles. Like most old school games, DCC has quite a bit of niche protection, and the Thief is capable of doing things that no other class can. The first things to note are the 3 different flavors of Thief. Depending on your chosen alignment, you may either take the lawful path of the boss, the chaotic path of the assassin, or the neutral path of the swindler. Each path has its own progression chart for the 13 unique Thief skills and will determine your proficiency. For example, a max level chaotic thief will receive a plus 15 to backstab rolls, but only a plus 8 to forge document, whereas a neutral thief gets plus 15 to forge document and only plus 9 to backstab rolls. So if you're considering thief for one of your level 0 characters, make sure you weigh your alignment options carefully. The skill rolls themselves are modified in a variety of ways. Sneak silently, hide in shadows, pickpocket, climb sheer surfaces, pick lock, disable trap, and oddly enough, forge document are all modified by your agility bonus. Find trap, read languages, and cast spell from scroll, however, are modified by your intelligence, and disguise self is modified by your personality. Note that backstab and handle poison aren't modified by any ability score. It's also important to remember that when rolling thief skills, they're never opposed checks. That is, the DC is set by the judge based on the difficulty of the task given the circumstances, rather than being determined by a separate die roll. For example, the DC for Sneak Silently is determined entirely by the surface the thief is moving over. For Hide in Shadows, the DC is determined by the lighting and amount of cover available, and yes, you may attempt to hide in broad daylight with minimal obstruction. The DC for these checks should range from 5 to 20. An easy or advantageous check should be set at 5, an extremely difficult check at 20, and checks of average difficulty or those having disadvantageous circumstances set to 10 and 15 respectively. Note that rolling a natural 1 on a disabled trap check causes it to trigger, and on a handle poison check or an attack roll with a poison blade, a natural 1 causes the thief to poison themselves. Don't be fooled by this class's mechanical simplicity. Thief players need to employ some creative forethought and resist the urge to simply go along with the group's impulses. Remember, they're hammers, and to them, every problem looks like a nail, but you own the rest of the toolbox. Finally, I previously mentioned that PCs can burn their luck stat for various effects, including adding bonuses to rolls or avoiding consequences. And the Thief has one final trick up their sleeve in the form of their luck die. Rather than burning the stat on a 1-for-1 basis, every point spent adds an additional die to the roll. At level 1, it's a D3, but at level 10, it's a potentially ridiculous D16. Be aware that only the Thief and Halfling are capable of regenerating spent luck at a rate of points equal to their level every morning, not to exceed their original score. The core of this class is an intense focus on skills that defeat obstacles, and the ability to pump those skills in a manner similar to a wizard's spell burn, but we'll talk about that soon enough. And that's the Thief. But let's not end it just yet. Instead, I think it's time we take this crash course right into the next class. And I'm going to apologize up front because I don't think I can get through the warrior without showing my bias. So what's the first thing that comes to mind when I say the beginner class, or the most boring class in race combination? If you said human fighter, let me introduce you to the deed die. The other classes, not counting dwarf, get a static bonus to attack rolls. Classes with a deed die instead roll that die as their bonus in addition to a d20 for attacks. For warrior, this bonus ranges from 1d3 at level 1 to 1d10 plus 4 at level 10. But where this mechanic gets juicy is with the mighty deed of arms. Before making an attack, you can declare a maneuver to be performed in tandem. Yes, you deal your normal attack damage and perform the maneuver as a single action. What maneuvers are available to a warrior in DCC? Anything your judge agrees to. Kicking demons square in the chest and back through hell portals while Mick Gordon's BFG division plays in the background? Yes. Chucking a cult leader into the open maw of an elder god in the pit below? Yes. Making a called shot to stab out the eyes of a basilisk as its gaze petrifies your flesh? Yes. Pinning the wings of a flying dragon and attempting to pile drive it as it comes crashing down to earth in a far-fetched attempt to break its neck while wearing a luchador mask? Quite possibly yes. Any combat maneuver can potentially be rolled for using the D die as the arbitrator. How well you roll should determine how effective the maneuver is, but rolling 2 or lower on the D die or failing the attack roll itself means the maneuver fails. There's even options to have your die proc weapon effects if a specific deed isn't declared before the roll. For example, while wielding a battle axe, the number rolled on the D die shreds an opponent's AC with each attack, reducing it permanently, and the die reverts back to dealing straight hit point damage on opponents whose AC has been brought to 0. Warriors also get the most frequent and most devastating crits in the game. At first level, they score a critical hit on a natural roll of 19 or 20, and this threat range increases to rolls of 17 to 20 at level 9. There are 3 different crit tables to reference depending on your PC's level and include effects like entering a battle rage that allows you to burn personality or intelligence to add more d12s to your crit damage, smashing your enemies in the face with their own weapon dealing quadruple damage, disemboweling, dismembering, or decapitating foes, and entering a frenzy that lets you keep making attacks until you miss. Finally, warriors get to add their class level to initiative rolls and apply their luck bonus to attack rolls with one specific weapon type chosen at first level. So, if you've ever felt the urge to collect skulls for the Skull Throne, to crush your enemies and see them driven before you, or just hammer some faces because everything looks like a nail, Goodman Games has you covered. And that's the Warrior. Thank you for listening. Next time we'll talk about the Wizard as we continue our crash course into Dungeon Crawl Classics on Cosmic Sword Radio.